everyone, and welcome to Talk Football. You're with Dan and Jesse. How are you today, my mate?
Good, man. How are you?
Fantastic, really good, really good. We've got a big show, everyone, coming up today. We're going to be talking about Sterling. The news breaking that a deal has been verbally agreed between the two clubs, £45 million coming to Chelsea. Going to be a big deal, I think, that one for them. Going to be discussing a little bit about the Raphinha deal. Is he going? Is he staying? Is he going to Barca? Kind of give our opinion on that one. A little bit of conversation about the American boys coming up to Leeds. It looks like there's a bit of an American revolution going on there. So I'm going to get Jesse's view on that one. He knows much more than I do. And I, for one, am really interested to see how they fit into the Leeds team and what Jesse's building up over there. And then we're going to be just discussing the Salah contract, what that means for Liverpool going forward, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch. And then finishing up with the Ronaldo talk about, is he staying? Is he leaving? What does this mean for Man United? Is it kind of a blessing in disguise? So, yeah, we've got a few bits and pieces. If you can jump in the chat, jump in the comments, we'd really appreciate your thoughts and your views. If you want to be involved, we can get the link out there too, and you can just come on, just give us your opinion. So this is our first time, not just on YouTube, but first time we're going to be on Twitter as well. So thank you very much for anybody who's kind of just come along and had a jump on there. We really appreciate you coming there. So with that, I think we'll just jump straight into it, Jesse. Raheem Sterling, £45 million from Manchester City to Chelsea. Deal is verbally agreed. Personal terms have reportedly been agreed also. Not a problem. So it's just going to be a case of writing the contract up, getting him to sign, do the medical, and it should be a straightforward little signing for them. Finally got someone through the door. What do you think of this? What do you make of this signing?
I think it's a good signing. I think it's a fair price for a four-time Premier League winner. Brings enough experience in. I mean, Chelsea haven't won the league for, I think we're going on 5 years now. So I think that experience is invaluable. Nice little techie player, obviously very quick. He has an amazing record for City. My only real concern is that he's been in a team that not only is technical, not that Chelsea isn't, but plays a very specific style of play that really fits into the way he plays, and also that he's always had players up front with him that take a lot of the attention away from him. And I don't think he's the best player in anything but a one-on-one situation. What he really wants to do is play like a kind of more, when he has the ball, be a little bit more of a traditional winger, get past a player, beat them, and then cut it back into the to like the 6-yard box. I don't really think Chelsea's business is done because they need more in order to make Sterling really, really cook in that side. So
I couldn't agree with you more there. I echo your thoughts there when it comes to Sterling. I think he's a good signing. I won't go great. I won't go kind of anything higher. I think he's a good player. His season last season was a little bit lackluster. Wasn't exactly what we kind of expected. He's had a couple of seasons that kind of mirror this, where he's shown potential. He's been a good quality enough player to play, for Manchester City. He's moved on. Pep didn't seem too concerned about letting him go, which, in fairness, Pep's he's a manager like that. If a player wants to leave, he'll say, "There's the door." And I think that's kind of what's happened here. I think Sterling has been unhappy with the amount of minutes that he's got at Manchester City, and he's going to go to Chelsea. He's going to play a lot of football, and I think this will be really important to Sterling, because he's a player who I feel needs to be regularly, involved week in, week out, getting a lot of time in there. 27 years of age. He's a great age for a Premier League player. Loads of experience. I mean, he's been in the Premier League for a decade now. Played at Liverpool, played at Manchester City. He's been there. He's done it. He's played under great managers. So I think he's going to slot in really well at Chelsea. But the concern that I've got, and this can be levels, Chelsea fans, you can kind of correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel that he's a player who's very much that they already have players in that bracket already. They already have players who play a similar style of football in Christian Pulisic, to a lesser extent Hakim Ziyech, players who aren't quite strikers. Yeah, they're not quite strikers, they're not quite wingers. They can kind of be malleable. Now, I'd be a lot more excited or worried, I suppose you would say, as a Liverpool fan, about this signing if they had a striker, a number 9, someone he would be able to basically be the side act to be the Robin to the Batman kind of thing. And that's what he plays for England. He's Harry Kane's sidekick. and they don't have one of those at Chelsea. So, Jesse, what do you make of that? What do you think about them? Is he going to bring goals, or do you think they still need somebody up front to kind of to be? He's only half of the business, shall we say?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you agree with me, but yeah, less than half of the business. They need a danger man, and Sterling is not. He is not the danger man. And my biggest concern, probably mirroring what you have as your concerns, Havertz is a very, very talented player. He's very technical. I really like him as a player, but he is a little lightweight. He is not someone who's going to occupy the center backs. All you really need is a Kanate or a player, a big unit, a player who knows how to defend to take him completely out of the game. You need someone in there who's really going to bully the center backs in order to make Sterling effective. Now, you could say back when Aguero was the number 9 for City, he wasn't necessarily that. But regardless, Aguero was always a constant threat. So they always need to be worried about him. You couldn't just stick a player on Aguero and expect for that to be situation done. With Sterling, he needs space. He needs time, like I said. And he's not really the man. And that's my big concern. Havertz isn't really the man. Sterling isn't really the man. If you think back to, obviously, Liverpool, you will know, obviously, Salah has been the man for years now, ever since he came in. But Mane is also that imperious sort of presence where if you don't pick him up, you have to put 2 players on, both Mane and Sterling. You didn't have to put 2 players on Firmino, but Firmino just cooked because he had space and the talent.
He played within those lines, didn't he? He was just with his movement. He was just a constant problem, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So my real concern is not necessarily do they need a number 9. Obviously, ideally they would get one, but my biggest concern is that they don't have anyone who's the guy.
Yeah.
So that's really what it is for me. You can have, as many Robins as you want, however talented they are, but there's no Batman. So
absolutely. And Joe, I think what's a little bit of a shame, just on the other side of it, is that I could see Sterling and Haaland working so well. I really could have seen that being such a fantastic partnership. Haaland being this, 2 defenders, keeping the best centre back, busy, constant headache, and Sterling takes advantage of that space, and he's the one takes it to the byline, takes it into tight spaces in the 18-yard box, creates that bit of space, and that predator, that lethal number 9, that somebody who's in that box, who's the danger man, can just take that step off and then be able to, and Sterling will deliver him the ball, and it's 1-0. I could see that working so well, and I just think that it's a shame that he's now Sterling is getting that player. He's getting that player at City, and now he's leaving to another club who also doesn't have that player anymore. As you've just said, Jesse, he's gone from a place where he struggled when he didn't have Aguero, because his best season was Aguero. Yeah. He was absolutely outstanding. He was scoring goals, finishing more chances and being able to, set up assists. He was absolutely electric, and everyone thought, this is Sterling now. He's just going to get better and better. I think he needs a supporting cast around him. He needs the right people to be able to do the job for him. So yeah, I mean, we've talked about this on some of our other transfer shows when it comes to actual available number 9s and danger men. There really isn't any, is there? There's just nobody.
No, not right now. The market is so unsaturated. Only ones you can really think of is Oshiman, Skamaka, who looks like he's probably going to PSG or something. Yeah. There's really no one there. Even Haller, or Haller, however you pronounce it. He's off to Dortmund now. There's just no one out there. Nunez and Haaland were the players. Really.
You see, that's it. I mean, I had a little route through of kind of players that were available. I mean, one name that keeps sticking out there, and I mean, it's Belotti. Belotti's now a free agent, left Torino. I mean, he is a quality player. He's a fantastic kind of player, but he's gonna demand high wages because he's this free agent. I think he's going to probably stay in Italy, so he's not really going to be available. I thought if anyone was going to attract him to the Premier League, it probably would have been Conte. Who would have been able to make use of him as a player going up front. So yeah, I think that's the issue, and that's my only caveat that I'm giving at the moment for Sterling, as being he's a good signing, but I felt they already had players who did his job, maybe not as well, but I mean, these are still players like Christian Pulisic. Christian Pulisic is still a fantastic player. He's only 23 years of age as well. We know he's been around for a little while because he hit the scene so early. he's been victim of not having proper managers over and over again. New manager, new manager, new manager, new manager. And as a young player, he's not benefited from what Sterling has benefited from, which was Brendan Rodgers, Pep Guardiola. He's had two managers who've kind of just taught him one system, and he's been able to work well in those systems. So, yeah, I think when it comes to Chelsea, there's a lot still to be done up front. There's still a load to be talking about defence. Nothing's really happened there at the moment. We can't bring you any kind of new news, new stories as it stands. Koundé's still a name that keeps ringing around the bells. De Ligt is still a player who keeps ringing around the Twitter sphere. But I mean, as it stands right now, Chelsea just seems to be linked with all the names. Like, it just seems to be like, oh, Ronaldo's getting linked, De Ligt is being linked. It's just, there's nothing concrete. There's nothing concrete right now. Sterling doesn't surprise me, because I think we talked about that a couple of weeks ago as a deal that we thought could happen, and it has. So just another player who is on that Chelsea kind of stratosphere, and a deal which has been accepted, however hasn't moved at all, is the Raphinha deal. Now, this is still no surprise to me, as we've discussed previously on our last show, is that Raphinha doesn't want to go anywhere else with Barcelona. And he's not accepted or probably picked up the phone to Chelsea as it stands right now, because he wants to wait and see what's going on with Barca. And they're struggling as it stands right now for money, and they're still rolling the ball down the hill as it comes to De Jong, because nothing's happened there right now. So the news that we've got to bring to you is it's been posted by Fabrizio Romano, which is, he stated, and I still believe that he's working as a mouthpiece right now for the Leeds ownership, and that's why he's got such a laser sharp kind of news story that comes out of Leeds. Everything that's come from Leeds has been exactly right. He seems to be the first on everything, and he said that Leeds will give until Thursday this week, so tomorrow, UK time. They want their final offer from Barcelona, because I think they want this deal wrapped up. And the reason they want this wrapped up is they've now agreed a fee for Sinisterra from PSV Eindhoven. He's his replacement. So whether that brings stress, whether that brings kind of a new dynamic, for me, I still think he goes to Chelsea. Jesse, what do you think?
Yeah, I think everything's pointing to that. Obviously, he wants to go to Bayern or Barca. My bad. But at this point, I think that it's been pretty clear that Barca is trying to pay in a really, really kind of a fragile installment plan, is what I've heard. I also saw someone on a stream. They were on the stream yesterday. I watched it this morning. And the financial situation, we all know, is a mess at Barca. But it's at to the point where even if they were to sell De Jong, somehow let Dembele go, because contrary to common belief, Dembele actually doesn't have an offer on the table from Barcelona.
No.
So apparently, like, that's something that's going on. But they're looking at this Lewandowski deal. Koundé, apparently, they're more interested in even more than Raphinha, since they do potentially have that Dembele thing that can be sorted. I don't think there's any chance that he goes to Barca. And I think Leeds is doing what they should be doing and basically setting the deadline, saying, look, if you don't figure it out by tomorrow, by Friday, even if it gets pushed back a little, Leeds can't afford, as you said, going in and having to sign a replacement for him. They can't afford to go on preseason without having their players in. And having already signed several other players, namely Aronson and Tyler Adams, as we'll discuss later, it doesn't make any sense for anyone involved, including Barcelona. So it's just like, I see him going to Chelsea 110%.
You see, I feel for him in a way. I feel for Raphinha in a way, because, I mean, this is clearly a dream move. Barcelona is like, it's like that dream job that you've always wanted. It's in touching distance, the company you've always wanted to work for, or whatever, that dream job that you've wanted. It's there, it's to be touched. The contract is on the table, agreed. The problem is who you currently work for, or an issue which is out of your control, which ultimately says, if that situation which you have no control over isn't resolved, your dream is kind of put on hold for now. And unfortunately, I think that's where Raphinha is right now. I think it's straight. It's not sad, because ultimately it means that someone had to lose. The side of it, which is disappointing for Raphinha, is that Barcelona smelt blood. They were like a great white in the sea with a drop of blood. They noticed that if Leeds were to go down, they'd have got Raphinha on the cheap, and they probably would have just bought him straight outright, no problems at all. And that is where they got into the contracts in January. Contracts were agreed. His agent Deco, who's obviously played for Barca, a lot of great links. That was all sorted. And because Leeds stayed up, that's actually thrown the spanner in the works because now Leeds are in a position of strength who are saying, nope, if you want him, 60 million. And that is where they are right now. And to make it even worse, Todd Bowley has come out there and pressed the button. Okay, £60 million, deal. And that's put Barcelona in this whole deal to basically to bed, unless somehow they put a big lump sum up front, and it's somewhere around 50 odd million. I think Raphinha can force it to be a bit less, but I don't think he can force it to be a lot less.
And I think it still needs to get up to that. Maybe not 65 million, but it needs to be touch tight. Like it needs to be close. It can't be 58 million. It's gonna have to be 60, 62 and a half or something. And I just don't think Bayern or Barcelona keep doing that because of Lewandowski. It's on my mind. Obviously, as a United fan, I need that to happen. But
desperate for the time. Yes, desperate.
Yeah, but I think it's just Barcelona are playing with people's heartstrings at this point and saying, "Hey, we want this player," making them stall out on contracts and then trying to reduce salaries and pay in installment plans, which just aren't practical. So.
This is it. Unfortunately, Barcelona have got a champagne budget, but they're on lemonade money as it stands right now. And that's probably the perfect analogy, is that they want all these top talents and top players. And there's a lot of top talents and players who want to come to them. You know, Lewandowski desperately wants to come there because this is still Barcelona. The problem is unfortunately, all of those bills and all of that mismanagement over the last decade has come back to bite them in the backside, and they are where they are. They'll eventually be back on the top. But unfortunately, they've had to sell some of the family silver in pulling these levers with the media rights and the name of the stadium, all this stuff. We can go back, and at the end of the day, Barcelona didn't even have a shirt sponsor at one point. You know, they were that point where they didn't need one. And now they're at the point where they're doing weddings on the pitch. So things have moved along. But with that, I'd like to kind of just move on from looking at Leeds, because we're here now. I think this is a good opportunity, Jesse, for you to give anyone who's watching, the people coming across this video, just Tyler Adams and Aronson, who have come into Leeds. Jesse Marsh, American manager. No surprise too much that he's brought a couple of American boys in over with him as well. So, Jesse, just let us know what can we expect from these lads, especially for people who are maybe doing their fantasy Premier Leagues kind of coming up. What would you say about these boys?
Another thing to remember is obviously they are American, and there will be a American connection there, but they're also part of the Red Bull group, which is obviously he's been fast tracked through, hugely successful until he got to Leipzig and all that. But they're very good players. For Brendan Aronson, he is going to be their main attacking outlet especially with Raphinha going within a year. He is an incredibly attack-minded midfielder, plays 10. He can play like on the wing or progressive 8. He's really good. He's a great ball progressor. He has plenty of assists, plenty of goals. Very technical player. I would say he's on par, in my opinion, with Christian Pulisic when he was at Dortmund. I really think he's that talented of a player, but only time will tell. I mean, playing in Austria, you're never going to get the reputation. Playing for Dortmund, you obviously will. Tyler Adams, he wasn't always a starter for Leipzig, but he's not really a direct replacement for Calvin Phillips, but he is a DM. But he's much more of someone who can take the ball off of the back four or off of another midfielder and play a pass, which I know some people think Calvin Phillips is good on the ball. He's okay on the ball. He gets the job done. He's much more tenacious than he is anything else. Tyler Adams is much more of a possession-based midfielder, and he can break lines. I think it's going to be great, but the only thing I would stress is that he's not necessarily a Calvin Phillips replacement, even though he plays in that position, or at least style-wise.
Well, I mean that actually makes sense, Jesse. I mean, Bielsa's not there anymore. It's Jesse Marsh. You know, this is his type of football now, and what's nice is, and I always support this and I always back this, is that when an ownership brings a manager in, you got to give them the keys. You've got to give them the keys to the car and the fuel in the tank. You can't just, say it in lip service and say, oh, yeah, we back the manager, we support the manager, and, but actually we'll only support him in certain situations. Like, yeah, you want who? Yeah, we've actually got our own mind made up on somebody else. And that's where issues come in. And so many clubs have done situations like this. And what I was impressed with about Leeds is that they're out there getting business done, and they genuinely are operating very well currently in the market. They've got I think this will be their 4th deal with Sinisterra in. They're spending money. Not broke the record, but they brought in their fourth most expensive player in Aronson. And let's get it straight. These owners are listening to what Jesse's saying. Listen to Jesse Marsh, and he's gone, I want that guy. And they're going, okay, we'll go and get it done. And I love that. I can't get enough of that when it comes to backing a manager. And this is what I'm excited. I'm excited about watching Leeds. I'm excited about watching, like a club taking a new Premier League form because they're backing the manager. I'm really interested to see these boys. At the end of the day, both of them have come out of the Red Bull talent factory, which is exactly what they are. They're an absolute processing line of talent, and then they get sold on, and that's how it works over in the RB system. So these two boys are going to come in there. I think Aronson is already, from what I've watched, I'm quite excited. I'm not looking forward to playing against him, shall we say? But I'm definitely excited about watching as a neutral when they're playing somebody else, because I think he's going to be an exciting young player, to be honest with you.
He's going to be electric. I really do think he's going to surprise some people. The novelty will wear off eventually, much like it does with exciting players. But he's much more technical than a lot of these players that we see who are like pace. Pace can work in tight spaces. He's a very aggressive player. He's a lot of fun to watch. Let me just say that. That's the way I'll put it.
And I think that's what Leeds need. I think Leeds fans, I think the Leeds situation, I think what they'll be happy with is not being in a relegation fight next season. I think that's all that matters to them. They're quite happy to finish 13th, 14th, as long as it's like we're not anywhere near the relegation zone. I think that's what will be important to them. See some progress from last season and build upon it. It's a long road, and, it's a long, long road. Getting to the Premier League is only the start of the battle for a lot of clubs, and that's why I like seeing Leeds. I've got no animosity towards them in any way. I've got no problem with Leeds because there's no history there with being a Liverpool fan. But for me, I respect a club who's like, we've worked this hard to get to the Premier League, but we're not finished. I don't enjoy watching Norwich, because the way Norwich work is that they go up, they go down, they go up, they go down, they go up, they go down. And I've got no time for that. Like, you come into the league and you need to do a Brentford 110% game after game after game until you run out of energy, until literally you're out on your feet. The fans are giving you all the force. The players need to go out there and do it. And you need to do just enough to keep yourself up. That one season up is an extra 150, 160 million in a bank account. Invest again, buy. Because that's where it goes wrong for teams like Norwich, is that they haven't bought anyone. They came up this season with exactly the same team 2 seasons ago, but weaker. They were a weaker team. There was no one who came in. So yeah, dead excited about looking at these guys. I respect what Leeds are doing, and that's the team I'm watching out for next season under Jesse Marsh. I was a big fan of what he brought in when he came across. He brought a good system, fight, belief, everything that they lacked under Bielsa in the end. He was able to do it. Plus, what needs to be done with Jesse Marsh is he had Dan James get himself sent off for the last 3 games. He had Patrick Bamford constantly getting injured. Calvin Phillips was constantly injured. And still, somehow, with a raggedy band of players and Raphinha, was able just about to get him over the line on the last day of the season. So big respect to him. Big respect.
That would have been massively terrible for the club if they had gone down.
Oh,
it's so difficult. It's so you need sustained success in the Premier League if you ever want to get back to that level. They've been out of it for so long that if they had gone down, which as a rival I would have been fine with, but as an American, I'd wanted my boy Jesse to do well, of course. If they had gone down, it would have been another 5-10 years before we saw him come back up. So
I totally agree with you, and I think like what needs to be said, and for Leeds fans or anyone who's not kind of maybe kind of seeing this was a thought that I had. Imagine the price of, we know Raphinha would have been about £25 million as a release clause if they went down. He's gone. Calvin Phillips would have been £45 million. Nope.
No.
He would have been 20 odd.
Yeah,
half. Yeah, 20 odd. I mean, but you'd also see other players that these Premier League clubs will be coming in to pick away. They'd be picking at the carcasses because this is what they would do. They would be in there it would have been likely that anyone who, like Dan James more than likely had a championship clause inserted into his contract when he went from United to Leeds, that if he went down, that he could leave if he wanted to.
You know, like he might have coming from the United, but at the same time, I think that Dan James is a sort of character to have stuck around. That's the only thing I would say about that.
You think, yeah, he probably would have had that about him. That's why I say I think it would have been an option, like not one that he like goes, oh yeah, I'm out of it, I'm gone. It might have been one where if he had a parachute to go if he wanted to, the right club came in. So yeah, I think this was a saviour for them. I think a lot of players could have come in there and picked him apart, to be honest, because of all the clubs that have gone down, I mean, look at Burnley. They've lost a few of their best players. Ben Mee's gone, Tarkowski's gone, Pope's gone. We might not see Burnley for a long, long time now. But talking about someone we are going to go and see for a long, long time, at least to Liverpool and the rest of the Premier League. Mo Salah, yes, he has finally put pen to paper. I know we're a bit late on this one. We only do our transfer kind of conversations once a week. Signed it on Friday evening. He has Twitter. They had the agent was involved. The fan base exploded, and they had us all on strings. But yeah, he's re-signed the contract, £350,000 a week, most biggest contract ever given to a Liverpool player. Broke the wage structure, some would say, but if you're going to break your wage structure, I think you'd break it for Mo Salah. To be honest with you, I think that's the right system to go and have it done. And I, for one, I'm absolutely buzzing. Absolutely buzzing, Jesse. Not just for what it means on the pitch, but for what it means off the pitch, because it's a drama that Liverpool didn't need. They've gone a long time without any drama, and thankfully, there's no more drama, and we can just concentrate on the football. Yeah. So, Jesse, what do you make of Salah's contract? What do you make of the whole situation? Are we paying too much? You know, that kind of spin.
No, I don't think you guys are paying too much. It is more than I expected you guys to pay, but I think at the same time, what up, Pat? At the same time,
we are here.
Yeah, but there's no way in hell you guys could let him and his contract, that whole conversation, go into the beginning of the season. It's a massive distraction from what's important, moving on and getting everyone, you know, playing well, especially bringing in Nunez, losing Mane. You need to have the team there as a whole, and none of this discussion about, oh, is Salah going to go? Is he not? Then you come up to January, then he can start discussing terms with your Barcelonas, or not Barcelona really, but Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, whoever it may be, PSG. Yeah, no, I'm happy for you guys, not so happy myself. Does it break your guys' wage structure? Yes. But when people try to come up with the argument of like, well, Van Dijk is just as important to Liverpool, and he's only on $220K a week or whatever it may be. Truth is, strikers get paid more. Get paid double, I don't know, but they get paid more. And you guys needed to have the situation resolved before going into the new season. So,
yeah, and I think you make a really good point there. I mean, we've got true City fans in the house, and one thing is go and check his channel out if you're coming across really good content creator. He comes on here all the time. We really appreciate being here. And you won't mind me saying, Manchester City, as a club who goes out and buys players, do spend a lot of money when it comes to actually buying players. But with the greatest respect, their wage structure is very good. They have a very similar wage structure. I just think Liverpool are a bit behind them. And what I think that might be happening is now that Liverpool might actually, now that the success is more sustained, there's more money being rolled in from Nike, it might be likely to expect that Liverpool's wage structure will not be broken, but will just move up a peg. And more likely that that's the new ceiling. Like Liverpool's new ceiling is 350,000 a week. Plus there'll be bonuses that it's going to be, if Salah goes out there and bangs in as many goals as he had in every other season, he ain't on 350 grand a week. He's on more than 400,000 a week. Let's just get that out there. He is. He's got bonuses galore coming out of that contract, and that's what Liverpool have always done. And I respect that, because for me, it's based on performance. There's so many players out there who we can name who earn more than Salah, but produce so much less. And therein lies the problem. That's not Liverpool's fault that Barcelona overpay players. That's not Liverpool's fault that Real Madrid have done the same. It's not Liverpool's fault that PSG have done the same. What Liverpool need to do is work in a market where for some clubs money is not an object, or when money has become an object, like it has at Barcelona, it's become their downfall. That is the story that needs to be looked at and said, well, look where you could be. when you allow your wage structure to get blown to pieces, you end up having to sell the family silver to be able to keep the club going. And not saying that that would happen because Liverpool have, gone up there and said, "Oh, pay this, pay that." There was a lot of people who came at Liverpool and said, "Well, you should be paying him whatever he wants. He should be on 400 grand a week. He should be on 450,000 a week. That's what he deserves." And I totally agree with you. But there'll be a day when Salah isn't at Liverpool, and there will be another Salah because I've seen them. We had Torres, he went. We had Suarez, he went. We've had Fowler, he went. We had Michael Owen, he went. They all get replaced. These people that are always irreplaceable are replaceable, I'm afraid. There'll be somebody who we can bring in. Obviously, this is the most important side for me, is everybody now knows who's at the club. They know who's going to be at the club. Jurgen Klopp's at the club. Salah's at the club. Mane has to leave. Mane's left. That's fantastic. There's no dramas. And what we look at now is a Liverpool team who everyone's staying, who's part of the core team. And we might add a couple more between now and the end of the season. I'm made up, to be honest, because I think that now that we can kind of sit there and say, we've got enough money now to take ourselves to the next level, where we're no longer working on 200 and 250,000. We can now bring our players up. And it will be no surprise if Van Dijk does a renewal between now and the end of his career. If any of these players make these renewals, then likelihood they'll probably be on 300 grand a week.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's about time that you guys did. Yeah. And I think that setting the benchmark at Salah opposed to someone else was obviously very critical. Also, just having Van Dijk at where he is also gives you some context. It's like, yes, Salah is that important to our club, and that's how much we're going to spend on him. But also look at what Van Dijk is worth. You still have some room to slowly grow. You just don't want to do the thing that like United, Real Madrid, and Barcelona did, where half your team is on 200,000, and then all of a sudden you have 3 players on like 600,000 or 500,000. Or at United, mostly it's like 350, 400, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly, and that's where sometimes the issue can kind of come into it, doesn't it? So yeah, brilliant. I think we've got a guest to bring into the show. Is that right, Jesse?
Yeah, I think he wanted a second. He said, "Give me a second."
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no problem. So yeah, so just let us know when to interrupt me. So yeah, so just on that one, I want everyone's thoughts and feelings when it comes to looking there. I think I have to completely agree with you. It's about time that Liverpool got there. FSG have run a very, very tight ship. People are saying they're stingy. I really couldn't care less what people think of FSG anymore. I think if you're not behind FSG and don't believe in FSG, then I don't know what more you could want. I genuinely don't really understand what you could want. Liverpool went from the brink of administration to one of the best clubs in the world in a decade. Like that's incredible. Look at the team that we have now. Look at the performances. You can sit there and say, well, if they spent more money, we would have probably won this. We probably would have won that. You've no idea. We have no idea if bringing more players into the group would be a benefit or a negative. Sometimes it doesn't always work out to bring more players in. It can actually cause more problems. So Klopp wants a small unit of team. Klopp wouldn't have sat there and re-signed a new contract if he hasn't had some promises from FSG. And me and you, Jesse, we talked about on Discord. We may even have talked about on here. I think over the next 3 or 4 years, we're going to see a very different Liverpool, one that has a lot more financial firepower. And we won't be any more long. I don't think we'll longer be out there kind of fishing in the secret players, all Jota, all this one, all that one. They'll still do those bits of business when they can. The problem is with Liverpool, you can see us coming. When Liverpool come, they're like, oh, hang on, you want this guy? Yeah, we'll put the price up because you must see something that we don't, because why are you here?
Yeah, stepping into a different level of the market where people just know that you have just just so much cash backing you. I mean, it's been painful as a United fan. Obviously, we haven't had a great transfer strategy for years. And even before with Sir Alex, it was kind of Sir Alex just gotten the best player in England every season. It wasn't really like a real strategy. It was just like, if Sir Alex was still coaching today, we would have gone Grealish a couple years ago. You know what I mean? Like
You would 100%. You would have. Yeah, 100%. You would have been there.
let's go ahead and bring on Annie now. I think he's ready. How you doing, bro?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
Living the dream, mate.
How's everyone today? Just fresh out of the oven.
You
Put the muffins in. Can you hear me?
yeah, no, we
Yeah.
can hear you.
Am I coming out clear?
Yeah, you're clear.
Yeah, I can hear you, mate.
Oh
Can you
god.
hear us?
I was just watching these guys gegenpress these girls on Love Island. I found it quite funny, but you know, it's what it is.
So what do you think of the Salah contract then?
Um, well, we've had conversations about this Salah contract and we all know it was eventually going to happen. But like, I didn't think they actually give him like nearly 400k. Like, I was like, they won't give him 400k. Like, Liverpool don't break their wage structure unless someone has to leave or they figure out a way to balance it out. And I'm guessing they did because Salah's got the pay rise. Mane's been sold. They've brought in Nunes. So Liverpool may have figured out how to now sit. You know, like when people say sit at the table with the big boys, Liverpool have now sit at the table with the big boys and can throw the money that everyone else can throw. So they're negotiating well.
You're right, Andy, that they've negotiated themselves into a very good financial position where they are not just on the pitch but off the pitch. You know, the expansion of the stadium, the
The
Nike
Nike
deal,
deal.
all the other paper that comes in from all these other commercial deals. FSG, you know, they're just serial winners when it comes to sports franchises. And what I really appreciate is that they've come to Liverpool and they've just built it from the ground up, quite literally. They've laid the foundations, the new foundations, put bricks in the ground. They brought the right players, the right manager. They've got the right people off the pitch. They've got a better stadium. Everything about the club from top to bottom, left to right, physically and non-physically, non-tangible, is better at Liverpool right now. And my view on it, and I don't want your views, I just think that Liverpool have now just set the new ceiling. I think with Salah, they've said, right, okay, if you're hitting numbers of Mo Salah, we'll pay you 350 grand a week. That's what we'll do. We'll also give the bonus structure that says, if you come and play, you come and score, you come and do your job, well, guess what? There's more money on the table for you, and that's the way it should be. You know, do better, you get more. It's a sales. It's what happens in sales. Here's your base salary. That shouldn't matter, because what should matter is that you're the man. You're going to go out there and bang the goals, and that's what he's done. So, what do you, I mean? I'm glad you kind of mentioned that, and you said what you feel from that one when it comes to Liverpool have kind of got to a point where they can make things happen now. Not just they're now shopping in the big boy market. Darwin Nunez, you know, young, exciting striker. I said to Jesse, I'm 50-50. I'm 50-50 on this deal. I can see it happening because it's like he's 23, fits the profile. But the other 50 side, which was the no, was probably because I thought maybe we can't afford him. That was really my thing. Like, if it gets silly, I don't think we'll pay.
Well, this is something. Sorry, Annie, because I've been talking about this for months. I saw kind of a shift with doing the upgrades on the stadium, the training ground, buying smart and spending little, being as frugal, whatever, being penny pinchers for a little while. You guys weren't actually penny pinching. You guys were just investing in infrastructure. And that allows you to not just attract players, but also just build the brand, build the reputation, get things going where we have this issue here in Boise where we have a lot of people moving out of California or New York or wherever that may be and moving here to Boise. Now, we only have 100,000 people, but we're growing at 10%. Our population is growing 10% every year. We don't have the infrastructure for that. So you also have to build the right sort of infrastructure around then bringing in your Nunez's or the next Salah or Bellingham next year. You have to do all these things in the right way. You can't just bring in big players into a broken house, kind of like United's been doing. It just doesn't work that way.
You're totally right, and I think that's a great side to look at it. I think, like, you know, for some fans out there, Liverpool, some fans of other ones, when they look at Liverpool, they were only seeing what they saw on the pitch. They only seeing like, oh, these are the players that we're buying. Oh, these aren't good enough. But like ignoring the fact that a football club is not just 11 players on a pitch. It's so much more than that to make it successful. What makes Real Madrid so successful over the last 100 years? Well, look at it. Look at all of the physicality side of it, the on the pitch, the off the pitch. You've got to build all of it to make you where you are. And I think that Liverpool have got themselves to a point where they're now able to kind of show that they can pay this money and they will pay this money for the right people. And that's the way it needs to stay. I'm not saying now, right, go out there and start offering anyone 300 grand a week, 350 grand a week. It's about going and offering the people the right money for where they are currently in their, their realm of football as it stands right now. Darwin Nunez is 22, just turned 23 years of age. In the next couple of seasons, he could turn out to be an absolute beast. If he scores as many goals next season as he did last season, I mean, that's going to be frightening. And his wages are going to look minuscule. But what he will then do is if he proves it, guess what? He's going to get a pay rise. He's going to get a new contract. And that's the way it should always be. So, yeah, I'm pleased. I'm excited. I'm more than anything relieved. I think that's the biggest word that I can use right now. It's just relief, just genuine relief. So with that, let's talk about somebody over at Manchester United.
Hey!
Who may not
signed someone.
No, we're not talking about that.
Sorry.
We're talking about something entirely different.
Sorry,
I just wanted to let it out.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good, man.
And there's the positivity balloon, but I'm about to stick a disappointment pin in it for you, which is
go for it.
Cristiano Ronaldo has decided, apparently, that he wants to leave if the right offer comes in. Boys, what do you make of this situation?
I said it I said it. There's no way Ronaldo's playing Europa League. He's not staying. So I've already said that let him go. If he wants to go, let him go. Let him go. Like, I'm tired of having people who don't want to stay in. Just let him go. United don't need to hold on to him for any longer. It was great. The nostalgia was good. The story was good, but it hasn't worked out. So let him go. Like it is.
Yeah. No. At the end of the day, we are fine without him. I'm not that asked. I've had conversations with Dan. I've made my opinions pretty clear. People don't really like my opinions on this. If we let him go, that's fine. Even if we don't get someone, I'm not super concerned. I think that there are indications that losing Cristiano, and he will go if he wants to go. I don't think that there's any buyers for him. So I'm interested to see if he actually can go, because at the end of the day, United can have the stance if they don't want to let him go or whatever. But you need a buyer. Like, you can't just go for free. People have to be able to support your wages and all that. With this Antony bid for 51 million coming in today, I'm very curious to see. I don't think we're going to go for a striker even if we lose Cristiano. Now, I'm not saying like I want to lose him, but at the end of the day, I don't even think it's Ten Hag's primary concern. Obviously, I don't think he'll want to lose him, but I think most United fans are on the same page. I think the people who are online really giving it the big one, and really, I mean, just being tragical for no reason. I think it's kind of just. I mean,
I'll just put the question out there just to add a little bit of kind of salt to that one. Who's at fault here? If anyone is at fault, is this Ronaldo throwing a spanner in the works at Manchester United unnecessarily? Should he have made this clear weeks and months ago? So that situations can be kind of resolved with a little bit more time on the hands. Pre-season started on Monday. He didn't turn up on Monday. He hasn't turned up on Tuesday, yesterday, and he won't be there probably for the rest of the week. He's still in Portugal as it stands, and reportedly it's a family issue. I don't believe that, because I don't think it is. Is this Manchester United's fault? Have they let him down? Or is it now Ronaldo actually not being fair on the club?
I think it's just this goes two ways. One, Ronaldo, as much as people will be like, "Oh, he's your legend," and Ronaldo, you're slightly being a bit petulant here. Like, you knew what you were signing up when you came here. At the same time, it's now, what day is it? The 6th of July. Yeah. So if you really wanted to go, you should have said at the beginning.
So this is
But
this.
apparently, these United people knew since January that he was thinking of leaving. So I'm just here like, sorry, United at the same time. What are you doing? If you know he's leaving, you should be planning ahead. If you and I'm guessing Nunes was supposed to be the guy that they wanted to bring in, but unfortunately, Dan, chill. Unfortunately, this shows that United haven't planned for eventually Ronaldo leaving because they thought he was going to honor his contract. But obviously, he said to them they're not showing ambition, and he's getting to the twilight end of his career. He wants to be still playing at the highest level till he hangs up his boots. So it
You
goes both ways.
you hit the nail on the head there, where it really is like, when did Ronaldo know, and did United know about Ronaldo's decision at the beginning of the summer, or did he just let them know? I think he gave them a chance. I think there is some truth in what Fabrizio is saying. They gave him the board and Murta and Ten Hag a chance, mostly people above Ten Hag, a chance to get in the players and make it obvious that there is change going on. But at the end of the day, if Ronaldo knew he wanted to leave, but said, "Oh, well, maybe I'll leave," and then comes back when we're about to sign a bunch of players, and now he's saying he wants to leave, and then he goes, it's Ronaldo has a track record of being a bit of a diva, right? So I have very little sympathy for United, and I also have very little sympathy for Cristiano because, like Annie said, at the end of the day, he's being petulant. I mean, he's always had this reputation for being petulant.
Listen, I totally agree. I mean, I can see it from the side of Ronaldo, right? So Ronaldo leaves Juventus. He's on a free. He comes to Manchester United. Last season, Manchester United finished second. We've had our opinion on here. We've talked about false positions. I don't think Manchester United were at the point where they thought they were at, or a lot of fans thought they were at. And they benefited from a number of clubs doing very poorly. Chelsea, Liverpool, for one. Spurs probably were quite poor in comparison to where they could be. So he probably believed that if you add me in, Varane, Sancho was second. I think we've got chances here. I think we've got chances of competing for titles. I think we've got chances of competing for trophies, and doing well in the Champions League, in his opinion, and he's come to the club, he's on $500,000 a week. Fine, that's Ronaldo for you. That's his wages. Now, from that side, I can see that point that he's come to the club. A lot of players in your team have let him down massively, enormously, not performed to the level where they should be. And he's probably been quite shocked by that situation coming up and coming around and being like, "Oh my God, who are these guys? Like, what's going on here? Like, I'm Ronaldo. Everywhere I've been, I've won. I've won everything. Every cup that's available, I've won it, other than the World Cup." And he's thinking, these boys aren't right. This is wrong. And that's that side. But the other side that I don't have any sympathy for Ronaldo is, hey man, you signed that 2-year deal. This is your job, mate. Sorry. You're getting $500,000 a week. Okay. You're losing some money because of the Champions League issue. That's not your fault. You did your job. I know you did your job last season. You did. But when you sign on that dotted line, you take the rough with the smooth. And unfortunately, he's got a bit of rough this season. So his job is to either say, listen, if there's a deal, I'd like to go. That should have been made clear months ago. As soon as the season ended, as soon as he knew they weren't going to get Champions League, that should have been clear as day. I don't want to be here. I want you to find me. I'm going to get my agent to go out there, try and find me a new club. I'll help, but I want you to sell me because I don't want to play here. I don't want to be in the Europa League, blah, blah, blah. If it is the other side, and this is the side which is basically, I've not given you any time. I'm not happy with the players that you've actually signed or tried to sign. This is all your fault. And by the way, I'm not coming back for pre-season. I'm going to stay in Portugal until I leave. That, for me, would be outrageous. I mean, that's unprofessional at the highest level.
Yep. No, I agree. I think it's just a waiting game. I think that Cristiano is supposed to be back this week, but I also don't trust that. We're going on preseason tour, so I mean, he had to be back this week. he must be going. I mean, that's the only real thing I can see. And I don't think United will stand in his way. I think he's just got to realize that no one wants you, bud. I know you're Cristiano Ronaldo, but at this moment in time, the only people who want you, I think, is Napoli. Who, you'll play in Champions League.
I'm
but
not sure about Chelsea.
I think Bully inquired, but I think, and this is what we were talking about, Tuchel doesn't want him. He doesn't fit in the Tuchel system. So that would have to be, I mean, dude, actually, I'll say this. I don't want him to go to another team in the Premier League just as an emotional thing. Not that I'm that connected to Cristiano anymore, but if he went to Chelsea, I would laugh my fucking head off. Excuse my language. I would laugh my head off. No, I really would. That would be the worst thing Bully could do to his manager. It would show me that they are about to glazer the hell out of Chelsea. 110%.
No one
glazer inbound.
100%.
No one wants Ronaldo. That's shocking, but it's not surprising either. Like, he's been turned down twice by Bayern. Like, that tells you everything you need to know.
This is just real quick before you go, Dan. This is the age of systems. You need each player to play a position and play it well and do the right things. He scored 18 goals, 20-something overall last season. He was the most painful player to watch with Bruno last season. He didn't fit the system at all. It was terrible. Now he scored 18 goals, and people say, well, then you're not going to be able to score goals. Our midfield and front line are riddled with goal scorers. We are not going to have a problem scoring goals, especially if Ten Hag gets things right. We don't need Cristiano Ronaldo to score goals. If anything, he scored 18, but we could have scored 40. Like, that's literally what it's going to be like next season.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there. It's easy to sit there and say, well, we scored 18 goals last season. Ronaldo did score 18 goals when he was shoehorned into the team. Now, not that it was like, he was the problem, because he wasn't. He wasn't, because lots of players let you down. But as you just said there, Jesse, when you put the right players in the right slots and the right system, if you're not trying to fit around one player to make it all about them, to suit them so that their numbers are, you're then taking away from other positions. Maybe Sancho scored 3 or 4 more extra goals. Maybe Rashford would have scored more. Maybe Bruno would have scored a few more. All these players have added up would have been equated to either the 18 that Ronaldo scored or perhaps more. And that's what I completely get what you're saying there. That if you build everything around Ronaldo or a Messi, then it's a case of like, well, are you actually making it worse to make it better? And that's probably what's happened.
Yeah.
Now, this is probably where we're going. This is only the start, but I think if we end up getting any more of these players, because of the levels of fitness that are around, we're going to see players playing well into their late 30s now. I think we're there now. The physiology, the nutrition, the psychology, everything around football now is geared towards making players play into their mid and definitely their late 30s. Maybe now it's the time. This is the hangover or one of the symptoms of maybe Ronaldo and Messi should have just retired. Maybe it's time to go.
I think
maybe it's actually we're holding on to the past for too long here. We're holding on to the memories of, Lionel Messi and Ronaldo. This is something that we've had for 16, 17 years now. Maybe it's time to go out to pasture now and, just move on. Go somewhere else.
I wish they just end up at the same team for everyone was like, oh, the last dance, the last hurrah. I wish they just both ended up at PSG. And then let's see if you two can win a Champions League together.
San Jose Earthquakes. Go on.
Hello.
The area.
Let's go. Or go to Inter Miami. Inter Miami.
I guess that makes a little bit more sense. Yeah.
It is, but I mean, they both transcend football, don't they? Really, and I think that's the issue. It's the addiction, isn't it? It's just addiction to. Well, look how big they are. Look at the name. Look at the shirt sales. They just see cash signs. Messi signs for PSG. Sales. All the deals start coming for Ronaldo. Wherever Ronaldo goes, sales, and that's where the businessmen who own these football clubs see. That's what they see. They go, wow, look at this new asset that comes in. Forget what he does on the pitch. Forget what he does to the team. What matters is he's come through the cash register. And that's where I think that we need to be looking at now. Maybe it would be a good idea for for United, most definitely, but I think for just football in general, to maybe just kind of start moving away from this sort of player situation and start thinking about the teams, start thinking about what's more important. Is it players who fit our team, our style of play, and our system, or is it a one particular player who we're going to fit everything around? Because, well, let's be honest, the owners wanted him more than anybody else.
Yeah, I think the era of Ronaldo and Messi has been dead for quite some time. Obviously, they're still doing their thing and scoring goals. You know, they are performing to a certain extent, but I think it's time for them to go back home and just, like you said, onto new pastures, really.
Yeah, but Ronaldo would have gone to Sporting, but Sporting can't take his wages unless he chooses to take a reduction.
I mean,
But that's his choice, isn't it? That's in his hands. He doesn't need the wages.
Yeah,
Ronaldo doesn't need that money.
What does money really mean to Cristiano? And whilst you're still at this level with this level of fitness, why not go now? I mean, don't go when you're decrepit. You're getting there, dude. Like I know you're a machine, but go now. Put in.
Look at Benfica.
Injuries are catching.
Well, look at Benfica. Look at Porto. They're both weaker teams right now because they've been ravaged by Premier League teams. When it comes to them coming in, Liverpool being one of the biggest offenders of that. Right now would be the perfect time to go to Sporting Lisbon. Maybe could win the Premier, not La Liga Premier with Sporting. What a story!
Imagine the story, yeah, from Sporting to United, and from United back to Sporting, end of your career. Like, there's a story there, and he doesn't need the money. He probably gets around 2 to 3 million pounds, euros per Instagram post. Like, the guy does not need money. He doesn't. I don't even think he cares about money. I think he just knows what he's worth, so he'll take what he's worth.
Yeah, look at the deals. I don't buy into that nonsense. It's about wages because it's not. It's really, really not now for someone who's rich as that, whose money actually gains more money off the pitch than he does on the pitch. It's unnecessary. It's irrelevant. So for me, that little story, when we talk about going back to Sporting and stuff like that, that's his choice. If he wants to go to Sporting, he can go to Sporting. I'm sure that could happen if he wanted it to happen. But for any Sporting fans out there, if it doesn't happen, that's Ronaldo's choice. Nobody else's. Yeah. Just saying. So yeah, it's an unnecessary. This is now Liverpool, not Liverpool, but the drama off the pitch is now transferred to United, unfortunately. When things were just getting sorted, getting some signings in, things were looking a little bit peachier over at United, he just lobbed a spanner in the network, which has just now caused off-field dramas, which I just don't think United needed at all right now.
Yeah, can I just say one thing? It's totally planned. I'm sure that what's-his-face, Duncan Castles, had that story ready to go for a week. But it's anytime you'll notice this, and this is why when United fans on Twitter, especially, it's obviously on Twitter, but even some of my better friends like Annie and Josh, in private.
Hey, I've chilled out.
You have chilled out, but this is the news cycle. So it's like positive for United, positive for United, positive for United. Next 2 days, negative, negative, negative. It's like it's so obvious what happens, and these things just get lobbed in, and the entire internet reacts. It drives clicks. It's great for these companies and these journalists, but it's so obvious what's going on it's so obvious the way that the news cycle goes, because it's meant. If people think that this is coincidence, that it's like United has a couple good days in the transfer market, and then all of a sudden the day that United isn't doing anything, because you can't just constantly be getting deals done, then all of a sudden it's like bad news. It doesn't make any sense. Like, there's no middle ground. It's either a way up.
You need a space in the calendar, don't you, for that news? You don't want it to conflict with anything else. Like, we want this to be the story of the day. So, just as I say, just because it is a transfer show, and just before we wrap up there, now I know we mentioned a couple of names there. Theoretically, and if Ronaldo goes, where do you actually see him going?
There really isn't anywhere he can go, can he?
This is what
no one wants him.
This is what I'm saying at this point. I don't think he goes at this moment in time until we see something, until something happens, until a Juventus goes, "Oh, we're dumb," because we'll take him back off you, or Napoli goes, "You know what? We don't care about how much money we have. We don't make as much as you guys do, but we just don't care, despite the fact that we don't make enough to pay Ronaldo his wages." Like, it would have to be something spectacular, like going back to Sporting or Napoli somehow convincing him to take a 50% pay cut. I just don't see it, which is why I say, do I want to keep him? Sure. I don't necessarily want to lose him because we can't replace him. But at the end of the day, can I be asked? No. And I don't think anyone will come in for him. I just don't think it will happen.
That's what scares me. It's will United actually replace him if they let him go? I
You
doubt it
see,
because there's talks of Dybala and talks of the 50-something million bid for Anthony, and I'm just here like, guys, is this really good enough? But the striker market is so unsaturated right now. Like you don't know who you can get.
it's a barren market right now when it comes to Ronaldo. Now it's funny. It's funny that Napoli came in. For anybody who doesn't understand why Napoli would be in for Ronaldo, is because they've got a history of doing stuff like this. They signed Diego Maradona. They're not shy when it comes to looking at bringing a superstar in, even towards the end of their career. So this makes absolute sense as a Napoli time signing. I just don't see it ever happening because it just makes no sense. It makes no sense to anybody really. It doesn't make sense to Ronaldo because, I mean, he ain't going to win the Italian league with Napoli. He ain't going to win the Champions League with Napoli. So
You
I
never know.
The only thing I can really say is that he will add onto his record because they are playing Champions League, and that their CEO or whatever is a proper gangster.
Yeah.
You're right. He will. That's where it will be. But that's who the winner is there. It's Ronaldo, and that's what I've just made that kind of mention to. We need to move away from this situation of like, oh, well, let's let Ronaldo break this record. Sorry, that's
Team
not
comes
any
first.
football. Yeah. Team comes first. Clubs come first. It's your record is irrelevant to the club who's signing you, 37 years of age. He's going to have to come onto the market and he's going to have to be on about 200 grand a week. If his wage demand changes, then things do change. That's my opinion. I think the thing that's keeping him safe from everyone but Chelsea. Now, it makes no sense on a footballing level for Chelsea, but it absolutely makes sense at the moment to Todd Bowley because he seems to have absolutely no idea what he's doing when it comes to signings. Yeah. For him, he sees Ronaldo, he sees someone who scored a load of goals, and he sees someone who's going to sell shirts. However, that's not required at Thomas Tuchel. If, however, we start hearing stories that Ronaldo's willing to take a pay cut, then the door's open, and I think a few clubs will be in for him. I don't know who. However, there won't be a shortage of suitors to come in for him. I think that would be fair to say.
Yeah, I think someone comes in. If he says he's going to take half of what he makes now, he'll pay for himself twice over anyways. It's just about having the money up front that you can actually pay him, not getting bogged down by whatever financial fair play stipulations and rules you have in your country. La Liga has different rules from the Prem, as Italy will have from Germany, and so on and so forth. So,
I generally think if he really, really cut down his wages, he might have a chance going to Bayern. But obviously, they can't have Lewandowski and Ronaldo there at the same time.
I think even the Bayern president, CEO, what's his face, Kahn, came out today and said he doesn't fit into not just like the budget strategy, but the actual philosophy of the club, giving contracts to 38-year-olds doesn't make any sense. Like
it can't, can it? Because I mean, they're literally letting Lewandowski go for this reason because he's now past the age where they believe that they want to pay him for longer contracts. So it would kind of go into the face and make them hypocritical. So suppose it does only leave one club, and that's Liverpool, isn't it?
It would actually be pretty funny just to see. I'm so annoyed at the United fan base online right now. I would love to just see what happened to them. They would, dude, their brains would explode.
Oh my lord! It'd be like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, wouldn't he? When he takes the gum that turns him into the big balloon. That's what Twitter would happen. You just see.
Do you know what? Do you know what would really happen? Remember the guy that burnt the Ericsson shirt? Yeah, literally, you're going to see a massive Ronaldo burning shirt. You'll see it.
It's ridiculous.
I want to just see it just for the banter. I would just like to see that. There's an alternate universe out there, if you believe in multi-dimension and multi-universes, that's happening right now. And I'd like to know what's going on in that
What's
dimension, to be
hap-
honest with
What's
you.
happening? What's happening is 89th minute Champions League final and 89th minute Champions League final. Trent crosses to Ronaldo. Ronaldo overhead kicks it past the hair.
It's a and then bangs a Sue in front of the Stretford end.
But then goes, ooh, and you're just like, oh God, Jesus.
Oh my
It's
days!
another
Well,
Aguero moment.
Yeah,
that's it, and we can only laugh and we can only dream on that one. But no, genuinely, I think the only way he moves, in all honesty, is probably with a big pay cut, and that's yet to be seen, isn't it? So, hey, listen, everyone, I've really enjoyed us doing our show. We've had some good conversations, it's been a good show, had a good laugh. Listen, everyone, we are back on Friday. We've got a show on Friday. We'll be discussing the teams who are trying to make their way up that table, trying to break into the European League positions. If you can join us for that one, we really appreciate it. We'll be discussing West Ham. We'll be looking at Brighton. We'll be looking at Wolves, a couple of clubs like that. Leicester, see what's going on there. So listen, everyone, Jesse, Andy, everyone who's come and watched, everyone who's kind of taken a little bit of time to see, we really appreciate your time. You can give us a follow, hit on the subscribe, hit a like on the video. We'd really appreciate it. It means a lot to us. But until Friday, thank you very much. We will catch you later. It's Talk Football. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers.